the schedule. I was the first artist signed to Stiff, so Nick Lowe was the first artist on the label because it was formed sort of around him, but I was the first artist actually signed to the label, but I was the 11th release. And that was because, things like The Damned and, Richard Hell and things like that, they were very much tied to the moment, and the timing was very crucial to it. Whereas with somebody like me, it felt quite frustrating, I have to be honest, when I used to go up there and they'd say, I was going to be released like 5th and then 7th, and eventually I came out 11th on the label. And it was frustrating because I wanted to get on with it by then, because when the record came out, it didn't change my life. First single came out, did nothing. First 3 singles came out and did nothing. But once I had amassed enough material over these little sessions that we did to make up an album, Jake and Dave Robinson, Jake Riviere and Dave Robinson said, would I turn professional? I said, well, if I can earn as much money doing this as I can in my job, I have my responsibilities. I would take the risk if I was on my own, but I can't if I have my family. So they said, yeah, we can pay you the same. I wasn't being paid a fortune at my job, so it wasn't all that hard to earn that much money. We put the ads in the papers, formed the attractions, and that was it. I turned professional the week the record came out.
That happened to be in the middle of the summer of punk. How calculating was your attitude to that? Did you allow yourself to be vaguely pushed in with that kind of crowd, or were you
No, because I never saw any of the punk bands until later. I liked The Clash very much. I liked their first record. It was quite influential in its spirit more than in its music, because I didn't think any of them could play it Save Their Lives, but it didn't matter. And I wasn't at all interested in the McLaren Axis. I thought it was completely fake. I liked the records because I thought Chris Thomas made a great sound with the Pistols, but I don't think they had a tremendous amount to do with it. I think it was just like get them in and squeeze them into this little box and it all just sounds right. And Lydon is a great vocalist. He couldn't really say singer, but he's a great vocalist.
Yeah, it's actually strange how few of the so-called classic punk records actually stand up.
Yeah, all of the Pistols ones do, in my opinion, and all of the Clash records do. And the Buzzcocks, who were a pop group that played fast, A lot of the other groups I thought were pretty awful, and I didn't really care whether I was, part of it or not. It gave a degree of propulsion. In retrospect, it's been seen, as being calculated. And there's always these Star Wars, they go on all the time, but they exist in the music papers. They don't exist in the real world. I mean, the truth of it is, most of the people writing about punk in London came up from the suburbs, and so they were very defensive and very protective of the things which facilitated their escape from their horrible, empty lives. And they took it out on the people who lived in the towns that they came from. So when you went down to Plymouth and there were just 3 kids with safety pins stuck in their lapels rather than wearing bin liners, they were having a hard job living up to what they'd been taught to think was groovy, I hated that sort of tyranny,
Yeah.
Because it's so insignificant, it goes behind the back of an eyelid. But it is a kind of tyranny on people, because it stops them from enjoying their life, even enjoying the kicking things over part of it,
Because they have to do it in such a
Because they have to do it in a formalised way, exactly.
Did you then get sucked into another music biz formula, the great New Wave explosion?
I don't know anything about New Wave. That was just a word that the record companies... As far as I remember, Polygram Records invented New Wave as a slogan to sell a bunch of crap American records, like the Runaways and things like that, and they stuck them all on a compilation with a Boomtown Rats track and something by the Dead Boys, and they called it New Wave because it obviously wasn't fast enough to sound like punk, and it sort of stuck, the name. I don't know who started using it first, but that's the first time I remember seeing it was on a compilation, and the next thing it was attached to it, I just thought all slogans were stupid. Except the ones that we made up to make fun of the pigeonholing of the music. I mean, I was the one that coined the surfing on the new wave phrase from my posters, because for a very good reason that it was just asking for that to be said. Yeah, I said, yeah, well, there is a new wave, yeah, and I'm right on top of it, Yeah.
How hard did you find it to escape the American influences in your songwriting? I know you've written and said in interviews that people like Randy Newman and the band were a big influence.
I didn't even worry about them, obviously, because Lydon and Ian Dury sang with very pronounced English delivery, and to a certain extent, and obviously Pete Shelley sang with the Mancunian accent. most singers sang with sort of an American sounding voice. It was like a pop voice. The Beatles did as well. From time to time they sounded more American, or sometimes they accentuated the Liverpool accents. And it's all acting. You know, you sing in a voice that's different. I don't sound the same. I talk much lower than I sing. And I never found any problem with it. Some people seem to think that singing with a proletarian delivery with a certain kind of regional accent, whether it be London or Manchester or Bristol, they told you then and they'll tell you now that it's some sort of badge of authenticity, but that's bollocks. It's what's in your heart that matters, you know. And if you've learnt to sing a certain way through imitation, learning from your teachers, the teachers that are there on record, you can't help but absorb the way the phrases. If it changes your voice into these contortions, I no longer hear any geography in good singing. It doesn't bother me.